Have you ever felt you cannot do something because there's that thing inside you that says you're not good enough? Well, in English, it's called the imposter syndrome. We all fight with that, and our temperaments also affect how we relate to that. But as a woman, what are the areas to improve? How bad can imposter syndrome be? And how can you manage it? The energetic EJ is on set to us on Cityscope series to talk about this, and it's going to be boom, insightful. So sit back, enjoy, and it's just for a few minutes, so we save your time too. You're going to enjoy it because she has fought with the imposter syndrome and won as a city lady. This is a City Lady series from the Cityscope. It's a pleasure to have you on this interesting event, and I want to thank you for all the sacrifice you've made. I know the time zone, you just had to like juggle everything up, so it's a real privilege to have you here. But you know, everybody has a background, and consciously or subconsciously, it has a way of affecting us. So we'd like to know a bit of your background, something you're comfortable to talk about. And then we'll talk about, does it in any way affect the imposter syndrome? So let's start with a bit of your background.
Okay. Short version of the background. My name is Ejiro. I'm from Delta State. I was born in Delta State actually, but I grew up in Lagos. So I schooled in Lagos and everything. So that's why, in a way, I kind of understand, Yoruba language because I grew up in Lagos. You can't grow up in Lagos, like proper Lagos and not, understand the language Yoruba. So that's how I understand the language. And I grew up in Lagos. I schooled in Lagos. I've always been I've always been a spotlight person from childhood, right? Because while I was a child, I would be part of a lot of things in church, junior choir, and then graduate to senior choir, joined some special bands, and then I entered into the entertainment industry as well at some point. And then we drew from entertainment industry and decided to say, okay, what do I really want for myself? And then I started to go for trainings, and that was how I stumbled. Did I even stumble? I walked into it because I think I've always loved, I wanted to be a broadcaster when I was growing up. So, but somehow, I don't know, maybe peer pressure and everything, I ended up in commercial class. I wanted to be an accountant because my friends were going to be accountants. And then when I failed accounts in GC, I said, no, I'm not doing it again. So it was at that point I switched back to the arts, but it was like the final year, so I couldn't really do much. And then, things happened during the final year. I could not finish my school. So it was more like I was a dropout of secondary school because I could not, graduate with my fellow secondary school students. So I just went for GCE. That was when I then did my GCE exam and everything. And so I then was looking for something to study. I wasn't sure. I wanted mass comm, but at the time, there was no finances for me. I got admission to LASU actually to study theater arts in 2004, 2005. But there was no money to even pay for the acceptance fee and everything. So I had to forfeit that. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? Then a good Samaritan back then, I think it was my pastor's wife, was like, okay, what will you do? What do you want to do? So I searched. I was working at the time, so I needed something part-time. So I went for Sec Admin. I did the Sec Admin. When I did it, I thought, I was going to finish Sec Admin. I was going to go for Chartered Secretary and just enter, the government work one level and be growing the level. But after ONG, I'm like, nope, this is not for me. Office life is not for me. So I went back into training, and that was when I trained as an ordinary personality with Pro MCs. But I ended up not practicing as an ordinary personality because after my training there, I went back into the academy to work with the academy as their admin person. And then I grew and I became a facilitator, and then we started to facilitate the trainings for other people, right? So that was what I was doing. Then in that training was when I caught the vision of creating audiobooks for African authors. So I started a business. I started a company mixing audiobooks, And we started that, but at the same time, all I was doing at the time was just riding on passion. So I didn't have all the what was needed to run a proper business. So it didn't fly as I imagined it in my head that it would fly. So it came back to me, coming back to myself to say, see, I think you're more of a career person than like a business person. So in a way, I'm still learning in the business world, learning how to structure businesses, run businesses, but I am self-motivated and I am more of, let's say like a freelancer or a creative person. So I'm in a creative space. So that's what I would summarize the journey so far as.
Your journey is quite an interesting story, and I like its twists, those twists, those turns, those challenges. Now let's talk about this imposter syndrome we're talking about. So at what point, you talked about your audiobook. That's something I know, the African audiobook. So let's go to that business. At what are different points that you had this imposter syndrome? And how did you detect that? Were you able to detect it was imposter syndrome? Or you just felt, okay, maybe I couldn't do it? So at what point did you have that? That's one. Then the second, which will come in, is how did you handle it? But let's start with at what point in this your background. Everybody sees you as energetic EJ. I know you're self-motivated. I've met you before. But this imposter syndrome, how are you able to manage it and still be that energetic EJ?
So it's a work in progress, honestly, because for every, I'm sure you've heard the saying that for every level, there's a new devil, right? So for every time I get into a higher space that I currently am in, there's that fear, like, you're not good enough for this, and you can't do this. Like, look at this other person doing it better than you. So I think imposter syndrome begins also, it's also is fueled by comparison sometimes. When you compare yourself with other people, you begin to see your flaws, right? And it's that voice in your head telling you that you are not good enough. There are people that are way better than you. But it is the truth that there are people that are way better than you. But there are also people, there is also the thing that only you know you can do better than any other person else. So imposter syndrome kind of takes your focus away from the things that are your strength and like pushes it and zooms in on the things that are your weakness and lets you and tells you or make you feel like, this thing, you're not good enough. You're just forming like you're good enough. And one day people will catch you and they will know that you're not good enough. That's what imposter syndrome is. Like, you are not the person for this job. You're not the right person for this job. You're not qualified enough for this job. Or are you really not? And so if you think you're not, so what can you do about it? Right? So for me, that has been the way that I've dealt with it. So when it comes to the audiobook thing, for me then, I don't think the imposter syndrome was one thing that really stopped me. But in a way it did. But I won't blame it on it. I just take the blame personally. Like, I just needed to be, I needed to be more focused or more what's the word I'm looking for now? To look for the right things, really. Because, for example, I did all the things that I was supposed to do last. I did them first, And some of these things are based on my personality type as well. And this is not to blame it on my personality type, but this is me now going back in time to now say, okay, what were the things that happened? Like, why did I do these things? Why did I do these things, I started to read books, attend classes, and so that I could understand where I'm coming from, so that it can help me to better position for where I'm going to, right? So it was in retrospect that I noticed, okay, number one, my personality type, sanguine. We are very poor with planning. We are very quick with taking action. We don't like to sit down and plan like, okay, do the plan. No, it's like, this idea is sweet, it's hot, as it's hot, let's do it. Right? And we just jump in, we dive in, all head in first, without even thinking, and sitting down and say, okay, this is it, fine, this idea is fantastic, but what, like, see it through to the end, So that's something that I am currently, having to work on. But I didn't know all of this at the time. So it was in retrospect, I started to see, okay, why did I or why do I behave the way that I behave? And that's why that book written by Tim Laye, like why we act the way we do, help me to understand the different type of temperaments, right? The sanguine, the melancholy, the choleric, So I know like I am a larger percent sanguine. So we don't have time for planning. We don't have time we just want to do. So what I could have done differently was to probably look for somebody who was probably a choleric person, who is more in tune, who is more focused, who is more in charge, of themselves and of plans. And then collaborate with such a person so that person can be the one to push me and say, hey, come, I know you're excited. Wait, come back here. Let us plan it. Say, oh yeah, this is what you do. Yeah, go and do it. I am more the execution. Let's do it. Let's do, right? So these are things that I'm now currently, that I'm learning or relearning to help me position better going forward in my different expressions, right? So at the time, I didn't know what it was. I just felt like, I was not good enough. I just felt like, this is not working, it's not working. And I think I also lied to myself, or probably based on how I grew up and everything, to say that I am not a salesperson. Like, I'm not a salesperson. And that was something that really caught me short, because I had the idea in my head. I knew what I wanted. The picture was clear in my head. But again, for me to be able to transfer that picture to somebody else is selling. I needed to sell the ideas to my team. I needed to sell the ideas to my clients. I needed to sell, do you understand? So, but I couldn't do that effectively. And so that was one of the reasons that it really didn't fly. But the truth is, I actually tried. I went for coaching. I even had I enrolled for personal coach and everything, but still it was a struggle. So there are things that I'm now learning little by little up until now that, some of them are now making sense to me now. And I'm hoping that I'm going to even apply that going forward in the expressions that is this being called energetic EJ. So
Wow.
when it comes to your question of how am I dealing, is actually consistently learning what it is, what imposter syndrome is, and how to deal with it. So most times it's all in my head. It's all in my head. So some of the things that I do to counter them is to talk with people who have known me for a while. So some people really speak into my life. And so when I'm at that phase where it was like, I can't do this, I reach out to those people. Some are my coaches that I worked with in the past, or coaches that I've been with in the same community. So I talk to them, and somehow they're able to infuse, that confidence back in me. I have friends that I also can just open up to, and then sometimes they just point to me like, I don't understand what you're talking about, EJ. You've done this, you've done this, you've done. So what makes you think you can't do this other thing? So all of those kind of conversation actually brings me back, to point. And then I gather the strength and the confidence I need for that time to move to the next level. But when I need to climb the next step, it all comes back again.
I must really thank you for being expressive, because, honestly, what you're saying affects me. So it's like you're speaking into what I'm going through. I'm sanguine like you. I'm like, guy, run this thing. No sleep with it, go. But I've learned to work with a team. And imposter syndrome, it can also be good sometimes. Let me use that word. It also helps you to understand and to be humble. Yeah, so you don't, yes, I'm so big.
Don't feel like I'm all that. Don't get into the arrogant space.
It's just that we should know how to balance it. Now, speaking to that lady out there, because you are somebody we admire, you had a very rough challenge. Let me not say rough, let me not be negative. You had so many times you wanted to go to school, achieve your dreams, things didn't work out. And there are so many women like you. Some ended up, okay, I'm married, I have a child. Let me just manage my life with my husband. But they also have some things they can do within the space of the marriage. So what's your advice? What's your suggestion to them when they struggle with this imposter syndrome?
That one is a tough one, especially when you come in from the point of, they just had to settle. They had to settle. The thing I would say is, I don't know that I can authoritatively speak to those who are already in. But let me speak first of all to those who are not yet in. For young ladies, you might not be that, like you might feel like you're not young again. So you could be in your 30s. And that's a stage where you're like, especially when you're like late 20s into 30s, the way we grew up, the thing that was sold to us was the fact that, as a woman, one thing that completes you is when you become married. That's when you settle. But that's a lie. Like, that's a huge lie from the pit of hell. Do not fall for it, okay? You can be settled before Mr. Right comes, if Mr. Right is in the picture. If you are such a woman that that you look forward to being in a home or to grooming a home, right? And there is nothing wrong with it. But there are some women who they just know it, like it's not something that appeals to them. That is like marriage, settling down, everything. It's not, but society would not let them be. Their parents would not let them be, so they just settle. That one is on the side. But for those who like, they really want to, they long for it to have a home, please keep longing. Keep making the picture clear in your head, but do not settle. Do not settle until you are settled yourself. What I mean by that is, if you're still struggling with the imposter syndrome and everything, deal with it first before you go and join yourself with somebody else. Because again, with the imposter syndrome, it can affect your relationship. Because it can make you settle for somebody that is not up to the standard they are supposed to settle for, because you're like, I don't even think I'm good enough. So this person now that sees me, before they go, let me hold them tight. Do you understand? That is there. So you want to be sure that you are confident in who you are. You understand who you are. You have accepted yourself, both your good, your bad, your ugly, because you cannot be all good. Let's not lie to ourselves. We cannot be all good. The world in itself is already imperfect. It is broken. It's a fallen world. It is nothing is perfect. So you cannot be all good. Well, you need to come to terms with your bad side too. You need to come to terms with your ugly side so that you're able to manage it well. So you need to come to terms with it. If you're a very nasty person, accept it. I am nasty. Then you're gonna say, but nasty is not good enough. How can I manage this nastiness? Then you start to work on it. But if you are in denial and trying to say, I'm all good, and you try to suppress the negative parts, the ugly side of you, the day that ugly and negative part will erupt, it will happen in a place that you're not prepared, and it will crash everything that you're trying to build. So it's better that you come to terms with who you are. Accept you. Accept your past, your present, and your future. You are a package. So if you accept your totality as your package, whoever is coming into your space will know you for who you are. You're good, you're bad, you're ugly. If they want it, let them stay. If they don't want it, let them go. So that you don't hide the ugly and the nasty part and portray the good part, and then you go and join with somebody. Then in time, your nasty part will come up. And that person will be like, no, this is not the person I married. This is not the... Do you understand? Again, is in knowing who you are. So for example, I'm an hyperachiever, right? But I didn't know all of this before I got married in the first place. So I didn't know all of this. But I knew that I just always wanted to make impact. I always wanted to do something. I always want to stand out anywhere I am. I always want to... The spotlight admires me. Let me put it like that. The spotlight admires me. So anywhere I find myself, whether I try or not, I will be known. As in, they will know that I'm there. Whether I hide or not, something will happen that will make them know there is one Ejiro here. Do you understand? I had to consciously then come to terms with it that, okay, spotlight likes me. And to be honest, I like it back. So let us make this a mutual relationship so that we are able to manage ourselves every time we show up. So I know now that I'm conscious about the image or the perception that I put out there, because now I know I love the spotlight and the spotlight loves me. So let us be intentional about how we show up in the spotlight. Do you understand? So, but all of these things I didn't know before. And so it kind of affected me, affected my relationship, and a lot of other things. So what I would just say to especially young people, if you have not yet married, please know yourself, accept yourself fully, and be at peace with who you are, so that whoever is coming would know and accept you as well, and then both of you can walk around your peculiarity, right, or your uniqueness. But if you're already in communication, just talk about it. Let your partner know these are your struggles and these are the things that you're doing to work on it. Just talk about it, because again, I think that communication is very, very, very important, because if you don't communicate, we assume a lot, and so a lot of assumption will happen both ways, and that's when everything now crashes. So please open your mouth and speak. If you're struggling with something, let your partner know. Let them know, so that they can also know how to support you, how to keep you accountable and things like that, right? And then to top it all up, like seriously, the God factor cannot be taken out of the whole equation, right? Because again, every time that I come to that place of fear, I go back to the things that God has said about me. Like God has said a lot about me, both in his word and in the revealed word of God, right? In the revealed word, in word of knowledge, in prophecy, there were things that God has said about me. So I go back to those things and say, God said this, so I believe it. So I am the woman for this job. That this opportunity is coming to me, that this idea is coming to me, means I have something inside of me to be able to execute it. Do I need help? Yes. So I now start to look, where do I need help from? How can I get help? But that I'm the woman for the job, yes, I am. That's why the idea came to me. Because there are many people that the idea could have gone to. And as a matter of fact, there are many people that the idea went to. It did not only come to me, but I'm one of the women that can execute that idea. That's why it came to me. So what can I do with what I have to ensure that I execute it properly? So these are some of the things that I would just say to women out there who are battling imposter syndrome. You are enough, you are good enough, but there might be some things that you feel like it's not up to par. Look at those things objectively and start to work your way. But that you're not the woman for the job is a lie. If you are not, the idea will not come. People will not start to look at you that way. But that they are looking at you that way, they see something. Even if you don't see it yet, borrow their belief, work on yourself so that you're able to, execute on the things that you need to execute on.
I wish you were in a seminar for the club. Let me do a very funny thing here. I have friends who are called Ejiro. I understand the meaning of the name. But Ejiro means to glorify, or Jiro as the odds to glorify. So I think it goes with the name. And something I want to appreciate from all your discussions was your honesty and your expressions. They are so heartfelt, because so many people out there need this information. We find a lot of imposter syndrome, especially the one for those who haven't got married. They really have to get settled with themselves first, because you have to love yourself first before you love other people. So like, you don't give that person headache, my sister. Life is not supposed to be too hard. Oh, sorry, I'm speaking pidgin. Don't mind me.
The pidgin woman, we know we love you like that.
No. This I have to be, phonetic, speak English properly. I'm even still learning. Imposter syndrome is even affecting me in the English, chef, because it's like I've been so used to pidgin, Nigerian pidgin, but I think I'm learning too. And interestingly, you talked about as a learning process. So we are all struggling with that, and gradually we'll get there. And I like that God factor, my sister. Yes, many persons have different religion, but you see that God factor, it plays a huge role. And to Ejiro, are we calling it Ejiro? It was nice talking with you. I don't know if anybody in the audience wants to ask any question. Okay.
So I would just like to chip in something. Just to first and foremost, I want to appreciate Madam Ejiro for coming on board today, and I like the fact that she talked about the fact of knowing who you are and accepting who you are. That's one thing that affects so many people today. They don't really know who they are. They just eat the trail and take life as it comes. But eventually, when you discover who you are, it helps you to navigate whatsoever you want to do more easily, faster, and more accomplished. Because, like you said, if she knew she was a sanguine, she would have partnered or collaborate with a choleric, which will have even made the journey very, very fast. So I think that is something that is a takeaway for me. And I believe that with this, I can know some other things that I need to work on myself as an individual. So thank you so much once again, Ma. It's a pleasure having you here.
Yes, I think she's still here.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I think we'll call it a wrap. But we just want to get like the final word for you, for that city lady out there that is struggling with imposter syndrome. What do you want to tell them?
Again, you are enough. Especially if you believe in God, you will know that He said everything He created was good. So you are good. Can you be better? Can you improve? Yes, you can. Can you be more excellent in the way that you show up? Yes, you can. But the foundation is the fact that God created you and you are good. So we need to accept that first and then build up on it. Again, know who you are, but accept you completely. You're good, you're bad, you're ugly. And then when those voices come to tell you you are not enough, speak against it. It's like open your mouth and say, I am enough. I can do all things. And that's why sometimes I think about it, I'm like, people that don't know God or people that believe like there is no God, how are they coping? Because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, right? So yeah, just remember that God created you and you are good and you can build up on that. So if you feel like there are knowledge gaps, then go for knowledge, learn. That's something that I have just tried and consistently do. When I'm at that stage, I feel like, okay, something is missing. What is missing? I try to locate that thing that is missing. If it's a learning gap, then I try to learn so that I can fill that gap and then move on to the next level. We love you. So just keep being you, right? But of course, there's always a better version of you. So keep working on attaining that better version.
Yeah, I'm talking with an energetic EJ, and she has been so honest. And there are 2 picks I won't forget. And I guess you need that. First, understand when the imposter syndrome comes. And that you can do by understanding yourself, accepting you're good, you're bad, and your better version. But try keep working on yourself. Then you also have to talk to persons who understand you a bit and can give you that pull. Then last, you're good enough. Girl, you're good enough, but you can do it better. So if there's that thing you need to do it. And don't forget the God factor because He made everything good. And that's a wrap for City Scope Africa on a City Lady series. Till next time, it's going to be another lady with so much vibe and so much lessons. Bye.